Know this before you get married. This is the Joyfully Married After podcast, episode 4. This is Joyfully Married After with Heath and Tracy. I'm Heath.
And I'm Tracy.
We're joyfully married after how many years, baby?
26.
26 years, 4 kids, corporate jobs, entrepreneurs, and this podcast is our view on life through our lens.
Let's go. Episode 4, baby.
What's going on, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
I see that.
Know this before you get married?
Yeah, this is sort of like some premarital counseling, if you will. Just kind of maybe some high-level advice. I mean, if we had a list of, a vision of, maybe some practical things that you should know before you get married.
Let's be honest. What we wish we knew.
What we wish we had known
before we got married. I think the first thing is, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon.
Yes.
This is a marathon, y'all.
Yes, I think that the first order of business is to understand that marriage is forever.
Forever. I think less people would get married if they really, really knew.
Or they would not romanticize it so much so that they would understand that, hey, it's a long time and you have to prepare for that.
Or they would be like, who is this I'm marrying?
Yeah, I need to go a little deeper.
I need to go deeper.
Yeah, let's have some conversations.
Because nobody wants a failed marriage.
No.
I don't think anybody plans on getting a divorce when they get married.
Yeah. People don't go into it saying, okay, I'm getting married so I can get divorced.
And if it doesn't work, I'm just going to get a divorce.
Yeah,
and if you do, you don't need to be getting married.
Yeah, most people don't think that way.
That's just not the solution, because divorce is expensive. Right. Divorce is painful. Divorce is a pain in the you know what.
Yeah. That's another talk, though.
Yeah, that's another talk.
Today we're talking about things you should know before you get married.
Before you get married.
So we just kind of talked about, number one, marriage is a marathon and not a sprint. It's a long time, right?
It's a long time, guys. It's not something that you really have to take it day by day, hour by hour, almost minute by minute in certain circumstances.
Uh-huh. And a lot of times people are going with the whole lovey-dovey, I'm so into you, and, that sort of aura.
I am so into you. Yeah, it's not gonna be like that all the time.
Yeah. So that'll wear off after a year or two, and then
They say about 18 months.
Yeah. I've seen some statistical things that show around 18 months. But what we know is marriage is a marathon, not a sprint.
So another thing we wish we'd known before we got married.
Yep.
You need to practice. You need to practice being married. I need to practice being with Heath. You need to practice being. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. There's things about Heath I learned as I went along the way. I have to practice saying certain things. I have to practice figuring out what he likes. I have to practice a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. Like a doctor practices.
Yep. A lawyer practices.
You have to practice in your marriage. You have to practice being kind. You have to practice holding your tongue. You have to practice a lot of things. So it's a practice.
Yes.
And it comes with everyday nuances and learning that about your significant other.
Yeah, any attorney that you go to that said the law practice of, or your doctor has a medical practice, and that means that every time that they're treating various symptoms or diseases or issues or different things that they're practicing, you want to do the same thing in your marriage. So make sure that you are practicing. Practice. And the more you practice, the better you get. And the better you get, the better your marriage gets.
Practice every day. Don't say, today I'm taking a day off. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to feel how I want to feel. I don't care. It's a practice. It's an everyday practice.
And that's an important point that you're bringing too, baby, is that you want to practice the good things, right? So you're practicing the marital best practices, not practicing bad stuff. right?
Never, never.
So you're always
You're tempted.
yeah. So practice the good stuff, and the better you get, the better your marriage is.
I think another thing that we really wish we'd known, and I'd say we both learned from this, is prioritizing the marriage, the relationship over everything else, except God, of course. God is first in my life. God is first in Heath's life. But after that, it's my husband before my job, my husband before my children, my husband before my family. And I would say I'm up there because if I'm not good with me, I'm not going to be good with anybody else. So you don't want to do it from a selfish standpoint, but your marriage has to be a priority. I've heard so many instances and so many times when people move to another city because the job and their wife or their husband can't move with them. That's showing there is no priority in this marriage.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that quite a bit in my work career, right? And so what happens is people get married to the job, and essentially what you've done is you prioritize the job over the family, over the children, over everything else in your life, and it results in divorce, right? So I've
It
seen
pretty
that
much
quite a bit.
does.
I've seen that quite a bit, and so regardless of what it is in your life, you have to understand that if you're married, then outside of God, that's your primary relationship. And what you want to do is prioritize your spouse, that person that you're with, that person that you share your life with, that you're spending time with, that you're making plans and future plans with. That is the priority. So that should be your focus.
So, I mean, but what do you do when I do have that better job in California or in Maine or Florida? What do you do? What do you do, Heath, when you say, okay, baby, you got this awesome opportunity. I don't have that opportunity or that type of opportunity.
Yeah.
Why do people make the decision to let's sacrifice someone somewhere and figure this out?
Yeah, you have to talk about it, certainly. Just because you talk about it and discuss it as a family, as a couple, doesn't mean that you don't do it or that you do it, right?
Right.
You have to do what's in the best interest of the family and the unit of the marriage. And so when you're approaching the conversation from that perspective, it certainly can work. And sometimes it's bad news that's driving the move.
Yeah,
right?
that happens. That happened to us.
Yeah. You have a situation and you say, hey, babe, we're going to have a better opportunity over here if we do it this way instead of staying here and doing it that way. And so I think that what people will see is that if it's best for you as a couple, then if there are children involved and there are other things that are involved, whatever's going to be best for you as a couple, then everything else will fall into place and it'll be fine.
So I think that speaks to not being selfish.
Right. Yeah.
You just can't be selfish in a marriage. If you're going to be married and your spouse is moving across the country for a job, you need to figure out how to go with them.
You know what? They're going to pay me $100,000 more over here, so I'm out.
Right. Or I get the title I've been looking for. I get to do what I'm looking for. You really got to consider.
What you think about it?
I know. People do that though.
Hey, you see these deuces right here?
Oh.
And sometimes people get into those situations and discover that it wasn't what it was painted to be.
What if the long distance thing works? What if that works? That'll work for me. That's not a problem. What do you think about that?
it may work for a very short time.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
But marriage is a marathon.
Not a sprint. So guys, prioritize your marriage over everything except God.
There you go.
Now this one is yours, baby. Act like you're young but wise.
Yeah. So the key about that is, when you're married, you could be anywhere in the spectrum of life, right? So you could be young in your 20s, or you could be on marriage number 2, marriage number 3. Maybe you're later in life, you've been divorced and that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, you want to get it right. You want to be married. You want to stay married, right? And so
Let's hope so.
Yes. So the thought process around this is that you want to bring that vitality and vigor. If you're someone who's older, you want to bring that same vitality and vigor as if you were younger.
So
And
you want it to be fun. You want it to bring excitement. You don't want to be boring. I think I read some celebrity thing today that they said after they got married, it got boring.
right, right.
And I was like, that's weird.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, baby. You want it to be fun. You want to be engaged with your spouse and understand what it is that they enjoy and do more of that. Do things that you both enjoy together. Do things that they enjoy themselves, and always be thinking about them, right? So that's where the vitality and vigor piece comes in if you're a little bit older in life. And if you're younger, then what you want to do is to take that vitality and vigor that you naturally have, but you also want to hopefully, yes.
Hopefully.
But you also want to have that wise counsel around how to be good in your marriage, right? So you want to engage couples maybe that have 10, 20, 30 years of marriage who can give you some best practices and wise counsel to make your marriage better and give you things to watch out for, pitfalls to be cognizant of. And so it would make sense if you were listening to people like
Heath and Tracy.
who've been married for almost 30
or
years.
joyfully married after.
There you go. Because the information is readily available for you.
It really is.
And it's here to help people.
Yeah. What we're saying is don't be a stick in the mud.
Right.
And be prepared not to be a stick in the mud.
Yes.
People can get into routines, especially in marriage, really easily.
Absolutely.
With kids and jobs and trying to hold the mortgage down and hold the car note down and everything. That's a whole nother conversation. It's easy to fall into a routine. It's easy to fall into, well, I got to get up at 6 a.m. and I got to get my workout on and I got to do this after and I got to walk the dog and I got to take the cat to the vet and the kids on the swim team and the daughters on the track team, whatever it is, you can fall into the mundane very, very easily, and that can hurt your marriage. You have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that from day one, and you have to plan for it, I guess you could say. Would you say plan?
Touch points, check in, make sure that you're talking regularly, making sure that everybody's on the same page, because
I think you need more to do talk about it. I think you need to plan like fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. So,
yeah.
Leverage your plan. Leverage your time. So
date nights.
Yeah, all
notes,
of that stuff.
Cute stuff you wear. You want to look cute. You want to look sexy. Hairdos. Keep it spicy. And men, don't forget, y'all not left out of that either. Stay up to date. The mom jeans got to go. The dad pants, whatever they call it now. The beer belly, all that stuff. It affects things. You want your spouse to feel good and feel young and feel viral, with all of that.
Vibrant.
Yeah, that's a better word. Thank you, love.
Vibrant. You're all good, baby.
Okay. What's another thing?
Marriage is about working the selfishness out of you.
Yeah, we didn't know this one.
And it's about the other person, not about you.
We didn't know that at all.
Yeah, it's very powerful, right? Because if I make my life and my decisions all about you, then in turn, what I've found is that you make your life all about me.
Yeah, but some people, let's be honest, some people are going to be like, oh, it is about me.
Right. And that's the whole point, that you have to reciprocate what it's about.
Right. I feel like it's not about me because you make it feel like it's about me. Therefore, I automatically feel like, no, it's about you.
Yes. And I go, no, baby, it's all about you.
No, baby, but it's about you.
It's about Queen Tracy over here.
No,
in this
it's about my Heath. And it's the little things. What do you want for dinner? Do you want to cook or not? Do you feel like cooking or not? The thing we talked about earlier, you moving across the country? Okay, I'll figure it out and get a new job. Who's picking up the kids today? I pick them up every day. Can you pick them up today? Who's doing the bills this quarter or this month? Oh, I'm tired of it. It's wearing me out. It's a little stressful. Okay, I got it. These are non-selfless things. Right. And if you know you are a selfish, self-centered person,
you got to work on it.
I think you don't need to get married.
You got to work it out of you.
because that's going to ruin your marriage. You can't be selfish.
Yeah. Or if you have selfish tendencies, and a lot of times, especially for people who have gone for several decades and who've never been married,
Right. That's
hard.
It's
always been about
that's
that.
hard.
And so, with the understanding that if you decide that you're going to get married, then just understand that you have this whole other person to consider, and that when you go into submission, being under the mission of someone else, right? If you're under the mission of God, and you and your spouse are joined at the hip, walking hand in hand, attacking this great thing that we call life together. When you do that, you're always considering someone else, and that's going to bring success to your marriage.
Yeah, it's big. I think it's big, especially since people are getting married later. I think it's big to consider the things that are selfish about you. And if it's something that that's something you all need to talk about. You need to talk about the things like if you know you don't want to sell your house. If you're late in marriage, you purchased a home, you like where it is, you love your house, your dog likes your house, whatever.
Yep.
It's near your mom, it's near your sister, it's near whomever. And you find someone, you say, okay, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm down. Let's do this. And then they come to your house and you know what? I really want to live in town. I really don't want to commute. I really want to live in town. I want to be in the scene. I want to live like that, baby. What do you think?
Let's talk about it.
You need to talk about it and you need to figure it out. And I'm not saying either one of you are right. What I'm saying is you need to compromise. You need to both be selfless about it.
Yep.
And you have to really dig down into the real reason you want to stay in that house. And he or she has to really dig down into the real reason they want to live in town. Yep. And you weigh the pros and the cons together.
Right.
You come to a decision together.
Yep.
Maybe you don't sell the house. Maybe you rent the house out and you live in town temporarily till you figure it out.
Yep.
Maybe you don't move in town and they get a new car.
Yep.
It's just little things like that you have to figure out how to move forward, because we go back to the other advice of the marriage is a priority. It's not about where you want to live and how you want to live. It's not about you.
And let's touch on gender roles while we're on this subject.
Sure.
So I think that traditionally people, especially people who have sort of a Christian bent about their approach, or
you gonna pick on the Christian
or
folk?
religious bent.
You picking on the Christian
I'm trying to
folk?
clean it up.
Don't pick on the Christian
So whether
folk.
it's a Christian bent or whatever other type of religious bent, typically we see that there are certain expectations that are thrusted upon the man, right? And so the man has to do more, and then the woman has certain things that she does. The man has certain things that he should be doing.
Like what?
And I think that,
like cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids.
right.
The man has to make more money or make sure he has a job or make sure he does whatever. What if your man isn't good at that? What if you are better at getting the house repair people in there? What if you're better at that? What if you're better at balancing the checkbook? What if he's better at dealing with the teachers at school? Why limit yourself to the gender idea?
Right.
There's no such thing. We are all one creation in him. And to say what society has placed before us as far as, no, who does better at what? We are one. That's what we are.
Yeah.
So because we are one, we're not selfish because we are one. And two, it's not a sacrifice. We're one. So gender-wise, there is no gender.
Yeah, my parents were great at this, right? And so if you looked at my parents from the outside in, you would certainly think that they had a very traditional marriage, because my dad was so manly. He was kind of a big guy, very boisterous.
Was a sweetie pie.
He was very outspoken, outgoing guy, gregarious, I think is a good word for my dad.
That is a good word.
And my mom was, well-bred Southern belle, as we say, and, very... just
she was
dainty.
a Southern belle.
She was dainty.
She was a Southern belle.
Yeah. And so the point is that if you looked at them, you would think, oh yeah, he makes all the decisions, and she goes along with whatever he does, whatever he says, and blah blah blah, right? But and so my dad did those manly things, cutting the grass and keeping the house in order, and
I don't
putting
cut
the roof on
grass.
the
I don't
house
care what
and,
gender it is.
do this and do that, right? But it was nothing. My dad didn't blink an eye if he needed to go to the grocery store and buy the groceries.
Right.
He didn't blink an eye if it was time for him to write all the checks for the bills.
Right.
He didn't blink an eye if my mom was out of pocket and he had to cook dinner and that kind of thing.
Like in our house, Heath washed the clothes.
Yeah.
And it started because when I got pregnant, I couldn't carry the clothes all the time. I think it started off pretty traditional. I think our marriage started off pretty traditional.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And I think as we grew in our marriage and in our love for one another, we learned who cares who does this?
Right.
Who cares who makes that decision? And I would go through the whole, well, let me ask Heath first and stuff like that. But as we grew in our marriage, we just got to we came to the conclusion that we'll just need to talk about it.
Right.
Talk about it, figure out who does what best. And he's really good at washing the clothes and getting them done and getting them back up to everybody's rooms and spaces. And that's what he does.
Right. Because my mom, I spent a lot of time with my mom when I was growing up. And she taught me how to do some of that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Man, learn how to wash the clothes, please.
And so the point, I think, is that you have a partner. So partner up in your marriage and attack your life. And don't get caught up into gender roles.
I think another thing that we wish we'd known before we got married is you need to plan to be married forever.
Yes.
Forever? Forever, ever?
Forever.
Forever, ever.
Yeah, you have to. People, I think we alluded to this earlier, but you want to go into your marriage with the idea that I'm going to be married forever, and so you approach it that way. But I think what we want to highlight here is that if you find yourself in a super abusive type situation,
Oh my gosh, no.
that is not what you want to stay with.
Absolutely not.
You don't want to stay married to someone who's verbally abusive,
physically abusive,
who is constantly jumping around all over town, sleeping with everybody except for you, who is calling you every name under the sun except your given name.
Right.
The point is that life happens sometimes, and sometimes people may get addicted to substances. You might have external things that are happening, but at the end of the day, what we're talking about is abuse.
Right.
And you cannot just stay married to someone who's abusing you every day.
You can work through most things, I think. But abuse, I don't think you should work through it.
Right.
That's my opinion. That's Heath's opinion when you say baby. It's too debilitating. It's too it eats away at you, and you are important in the relationship also. So at some point you need to make a decision. Is this where I am?
Yep.
And have more respect for yourself. If there are children involved, think about the children and what their view on this is and how that is. You have to really, really think about that. We don't condone abuse, and we think, if there's abuse going on, that needs to end the union.
Yes. How about not sacrificing your spouse's feelings for someone else in your family?
What? What you know about that, Heath?
Yeah, so this was something that I never really given a lot of consideration to.
Didn't even think about it.
Yeah. But early in my marriage, I had to come to come to grips with the reality of this is very important, right? And especially if you're a guy, or especially if you're a woman who's just entered into a marriage and you have these family relationships in place, and people are, you're accustomed to your opinion, the opinions of your mom or your dad,
your
or your
sisters,
sister, your aunt,
brothers,
your cousin, right? And so
your line sisters.
Those opinions cannot supersede your marital relationship. It can't happen. And so what you want to make sure that you're doing is you want your spouse to know that you have their back, that they are protected, that you are concerned, and that you are standing in solidarity with them versus with everybody else.
So when you say you realize this, give everybody an example of what you're talking about. Do you remember? I know it was so long ago.
Wow. Been married a long time.
Oh,
baby.
please! You want me to tell you?
Yeah, go ahead. Drop something that you.
It was
recall.
just a situation where he was very attached to his family. He was very attached to his mother and his father, and they didn't really, I wouldn't say like me, in the beginning. They were just like, oh my God, what is she doing here? It was one of those type of situations. I was just on the scene.
Right.
And I was on the scene very quickly.
Yeah.
We really didn't give them a chance to get used to me being on the scene. As a matter of fact, they were used to someone else completely.
That's true. That's true.
And when I came on the scene, it was kind of met with, I don't know if she's going to be around long. And they
Too
kind of
late.
treated me, they kind of treated me that way. And when I tried to express this to my husband,
I was like, what? I was like, I don't care what they said.
but that would be the extent of it. He wouldn't say anything to them.
Right.
And it would just continue and continue and continue.
Yeah.
And I never got backed up on it. I never got that support from him
I didn't
that
really
I was
understand.
always looking for. That's all I needed
Yeah.
was for him to say to them, look, this is my wife, deal with it.
Right.
And did that ever happen?
I think it did at some point.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know if it did. I think
it
they
did.
just got used to me.
No.
I think they just figured out.
I think that
wasn't
they
going anywhere.
realized how resolute that I was, and I was like, "Yo, this is what it is." So, but yeah, it was something that it took me a while to really understand, to really get a grasp of that was the verbal approach that I needed to take, and it was more of I was just sort of letting it roll off my back,
like he does.
versus being a little more verbal about it and say, hey, back up.
Right. That didn't happen.
Right.
And I felt neglected. I felt third party. I felt intrusive and, things like that.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. You have to make sure your spouse understands they come before all those other people.
Yep.
And if they don't come before those other people, you don't need to be married.
Got to check it.
You need to check that.
Gotta check
So, and we'll say that with a quickness, don't get married if you're not ready.
Yep.
Your parents, your sisters, your whomever should not dictate anything in your relationship. Nothing.
Yep. How about celebrating each other's differences?
What you know about that, Heath?
Well, because you just like me.
Oh, Lord, no. Thank goodness. I love you, but
You're not just like me, baby.
no, we're complete opposites, guys. Complete opposites. If Heath was like me, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, you're the pusher and I'm the visionary.
Oh, is that what it is? Visionary.
I'm the visionary. That's right.
The pusher, is that a nice way of calling me what I am?
No, the pusher is the one who pokes and prods
I
and
don't
pushes
play.
and gets you
Yeah.
to where you can actually crystallize your vision into some actionable things that will happen.
So in essence, we're perfect for one
There
another.
you go. Because I have the big picture vision, high level.
Yes, he does.
And we gotta bring that to fruition out here. So that's why I need you, baby.
Because he's not going to do it.
And so you have to celebrate those things, right? Instead of poking and prodding and pointing out the differences that your spouse
Why you
has.
like that?
Why you always doing
Why
this
you
way?
say that?
I
I don't like it like that.
I don't understand.
Why are you always doing that?
So what you have to do is recognize and realize that you have to celebrate that stuff. And that's what makes you better and makes you more powerful as a couple.
Yeah, like Heath likes to do everything in the evening. And I like to do everything in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And it's funny. Our little conversations are very, very funny.
It is.
And bottom line is I just need to appreciate that he wants to do them at all.
That's right.
And vice versa.
The next thing I wanted to say was do something nice for your spouse today. Understand, recognize, lob those compliments. Tell them how beautiful their
Like
eyes
what?
are. How beautiful your eyes are, baby. I think that you look great today, even though you're casual and you're chilling. You're just so beautiful.
Thank you, my love.
You're welcome, baby. And so, you don't know what tomorrow holds. You want to take advantage of today. And, whisper those sweet nothings. Pick up that card unsolicited at the store. Bring some flowers.
I like the texts
drop
too
some
and the
candy.
IMs. I like those too.
Yeah. If I'm at work,
I'm not a flower
I
girl.
might drop an IM. Hey, babe, I'm thinking about you. I love you.
Yes.
And just that little thing it may be something that works for your spouse, So you have to identify what those things are and take advantage of today and put those out there so that the love continues to flow.
I like that. Every day. Think of something little every day.
Yep.
Make their smoothie or their coffee without them asking. when they get home. Like Keith got home really, really wet the other day because it was pouring outside. And I was like, come over here. And I took his shoes off and took his socks off. And, because if you're wet, you know how that is. You just don't want to move.
That's awesome.
So little things like that, just kind of get them right where you need to keep them.
Yeah.
And, that's very, very important. Very important. Do we have any more?
Yeah. The last one that we wanted to touch on today was that the magic is in the failures.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I think all of these things that we've touched on today have been learnings, right, from our relationships.
Most definitely.
And
we didn't know all this.
You can hear in some of the exchange, right, that there were some things that stick out in our minds about
that we'll never
about
forget.
one another, about our marriage and about our experiences. So you meet somebody almost 30 years ago, and then you have a lot of history with them. And so these are things that we're talking about today, is that one of the reasons that our marriage is even stronger today is because we made mistakes.
Yeah, we definitely made mistakes.
Because we've been through things and we've made mistakes, and we've had some painful learnings.
Yes.
We've had some good learnings. And at the end of the day,
I don't know about good.
Anytime you fail, then they say that you've learned a way that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if the idea is to be married and to stay married forever, then you want to identify what doesn't work so that you can do the things that do work.
True. Very true.
So that's where the magic is in the failures. And that's all I have to say about
Top
that.
10, top 10. Make sure you know these before you get married.
Know this.
We appreciate you all joining us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again for listening today, folks. If you liked any of what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again for listening today, folks. If you liked any of what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast. Tell a friend, too. And you can engage us at heathandtracy.com.
Bye, loves.
For all the goings on in our world. Queen Tracy, speak to the people.